obviously surrounding them. And the matter was dropped. And by the end of the 1980s, nobody really wanted to know about the subject anymore because it was just too controversial. And this is despite the fact that at least one of these facilities has continued to register these incoming particles, cosmic particles, right the way through to at least 2001. So they're not some, phantom, that doesn't exist.
No, they're
Plus also, they have been registered by other types of facilities at ground level as well, that are monitoring things like gamma ray bursts and things like this. So these are not, ghosts in the machine, as it were. But the significance of reading this and understanding this made me look at whether these particles may have been entering the caves deep underground, maybe 17,000 years ago. And I then established that Cygnus X3 has been in its current phase for over 700,000 years. So, periodically the Earth would have been bombarded with these extremely high-energy particles all the way through the evolvement of the human species, which we can take to be over the last 500,000 years, at least. And so I wondered whether the Paleolithic shamans deep down in the caves somehow became aware of the presence of this cosmic rays. Now, people might say, well, how would this be possible? Well, actually, it would be very, very easy because of this type of light bursts known as Cherenkov radiation. Now, let me give you a little bit of history about Cherenkov radiation. The Apollo 11 space flight to the moon, when the astronauts got into space and they tried to sleep, they found that as they were falling off to sleep, going obviously into a light, relaxed state in readiness to fall into deep sleep, they suddenly saw light bursts in their eyes. Now, this occurred when they were both had their eyes open and their eyes closed. It didn't matter. Which meant that something was actually going on, not objectively in front of them, but actually in their eyes. And of course, when we say in the eyes, in the water of the eyes, just like in the underground facilities. And NASA immediately launched an investigation, a research project, with later Apollo missions, and determined quite satisfactorily that these were incoming cosmic rays that were causing this through this process of the disintegration and producing this type of radiation within water that produces light bursts, which come in the form of little flashes. That's what they are. And that they are generally only seen in total darkness.
Fascinating.
Now, the thing is that under normal circumstances, we will not be able to see Cherenkov radiation because we're not in the right state of mind. There is too much light interference. Even in a darkened room, there are, lights probably outside of our house. There is the glow from the local town. We do not see them. We do not expect to see them. However, if you put yourself into total darkness with your eyes either open or closed, it doesn't matter, although it's probably more fun when your eyes are open, you will start to see little flashes and bursts of light. Now, these will come probably about once every couple of minutes, 3 minutes, and they would generally be a light blue. Some of them are white, some of them may be other colours as well. Now, this is natural. This is something which occurs all the time. Your listeners can try it for themselves. It's very easy to do. And it's an objective experience in the sense that cosmic rays really are passing through their eyes, and because they're so short-lived, really, they are disintegrating as they pass through the eyes, and you see them. Now, if if you think of now going down deep into a cave, hundreds of meters underground, you don't see cosmic rays down there in theory. The only ones that you will regularly see are those from Cygnus X3.
Ah, okay.
And the thing is that it will be cyclic, it will be periodic.
Yeah.
Because once the Cygnus sets, that you no longer see them. But once it's high in the sky, they will be visible. And then when it sets, you see where I'm getting. In other words, it would be quite easy over maybe, years, maybe tens of years, maybe hundreds of years, for people to have eventually realised there was a connection between these bursts of light, which they would probably have experienced in a altered state of consciousness, and the presence in the sky of the Cygnus constellation.
Yeah, so they were able to pinpoint
so they
the
were
location.
able to connect Cygnus with these light bursts, connect them with what they would see in terms of maybe a religious experience, or the presence of some kind of supernatural form. But that's on one level. That's on an immediate level. On a much more long-term level, we come to this, and this is that during Paleolithic times, ice cores extracted from Arctic and the Antarctic have shown that there were periods of intense cosmic ray activity. Now, for our purposes, the last period of intense activity probably began around 15,000 BC, i.e. around 17,000 years ago. There was another much earlier period around 40,000 to around 35,000 BC. And there may have been earlier periods than this, but let's look at these two later periods for the moment. Between 40,000 and 35,000 years ago was exactly when Homo sapiens underwent their greatest ever change. They began painting the most incredible art in caves all over Western Europe. Now, this is the oldest cave art that we know of anywhere in the world. Maybe 10,000 years later, it has appeared in parts of Africa and in parts of Australia. But the oldest rock art that is so far known is found in southern France. In fact, it's the Chauvet cave, which has incredible images of everything from horses to bisons to rhinos to the female form accentuated through the rock itself. And also at this very same time, there were great advances in the use of personal items, of symbolic art, beads and things like this. It's not to say that we hadn't dabbled with symbolic art before this time, because the oldest representation of art probably goes back to something like 80,000 years ago. In South Africa, there is a piece of red ochre rock that has incised lines on it, like crisscrossing. This is seen as the earliest example of symbolic art. But this is nothing really compared with what suddenly took place, around 40 to 35,000 years ago. At this time also, we find that there's the first reverence of the dead, being placed in graves with ornate rituals being performed over them, and in the manner that they are left, in the personal items that are being left with them. It's quite clear that there is a new transition here to the idea that the dead are meaningful, and that there is a good reason to bury them, because maybe, just maybe, people started to believe at this time that there was an afterlife. And other changes in symbolic thought seem to suggest that there was a cohesion in religion for the first time. But this is something that, although begins around 35,000, 40,000 years ago, does not really take full effect until around 17,000 years ago, when Cygnus first starts appearing in the walls of Lascaux in southern France. Because here, again, is another